Hello, guys. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm here joined this week with Pedro, Paul, and baby Adam in the house. What's up, guys?
What's up?
Hiccups all around.
We're going to do today's show strictly focused on 28 Years Later, the Danny Boyle movie that just dropped Friday. Doing pretty well in the box office, doing pretty well with reviews. This is one of our, I want to say this is a fan favorite amongst us, but the franchise is so old that it's not something that we've been talking about recently. But we're gonna go deep dive into the new film, and we'll kick it off talking about 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later, which I haven't seen haven't seen those two recently. I know you guys have. Paul, were you revisiting 28 Days Later and Weeks, or were you watching these for the first time?
Yeah. Oh no, I was revisiting. Over the last couple of weeks, I watched 28 Days, and then I watched 28 Weeks, getting ready for the movie.
Nice, Pedro.
Yeah, I rewatched the first two. It's been a long time since I've watched them. I probably only watched them once before each one. But yeah, I revisited. I thought 28 Days Later was felt kind of outdated, but the movie is 23 years old now, which is insane.
Yeah.
But the substance of it just is like timeless at this point.
Yeah. Is this, at what age is baby Adam going to be introduced to this franchise?
As soon as he's able to watch movies. Start him off with like kid zombie stuff, but let's not mistaken this for a zombie movie, because it is not. They are technically not zombies in this franchise.
Oh, you might have to hold your tongue on that one.
They are people infected. At least in the first two, they are people infected by a virus.
Yeah.
There was reference made to that in the latest installment.
Yeah. Do you guys want to basically talk about the setup? The setup for the series, I guess it's pretty. The franchise is not really interested in an origin story here, but if in 28 Days Later, the opening sort of gives us probably the most that we're ever going to get in terms of explaining how the world got this way. Paul,
yeah, do we, at this point, is it needed to go in depth? I mean, with most of these like zombie franchises, the real mystery is how did this start? How did the world become like this? And a lot of them hold off on that and don't give it away right away. Like I remember The Walking Dead took a really long time to explain the origin. But this one,
did they ever?
It was pretty linear,
I don't think they did. Actually.
I don't think Walking Dead
not from up to the seasons I've ever seen. So
no, I think he said Robert Kirkman was saying that it's always going to be like a mystery. I don't think they're ever going to explain it. But I think 28 Days Later did a fairly concise job of explaining what happened. That opening scene. Saying how it came from the monkeys, the lab monkeys, and all that. And they're spread throughout all the movies now. You get a taste of a little bit of each movie, explaining a little bit more about the virus and how it's not transmissible amongst other mammals besides apes.
Yep.
And things like that. So you get little tidbits in here and there.
Yeah. But the movies, as I said, they're not interested in sort of trying to over-explain what happened. You get a brief 5-minute introduction in 28 Days Later, where the virus is called the rage virus, and it spreads from apes to humans.
And I thought that was really, really clever. Going into this movie, you got zombies in your head, but once you see that opening sequence and they tell you it's just monkeys infected with rage, and it's even a social experiment because these chimps are just tied down. They're being shown violent content from around the world. And feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but this might have been one of the first movies that took it to an explanation where the story wasn't just the living dead trying to eat human brains. It was they're not trying to eat you, they're just filled with rage and they want to literally beat the crap out of you.
Well, 28 Days Later was like, I mean, that and Walking Dead pretty much started out the same, right? The guy wakes up in the hospital, there's a virus outbreak, and he's thrown into that world, right? 28 Days Later, what they did, which was new to the genre, was these these rage, a rage infection where these zombies or whatever you want to call them, infected, are running after you. They're not these mindless like corpses feeding
Exactly.
off of people. They're like it's the virus wants to spread itself, almost like the cordyceps from um, um, The Last of
Lots of
Us.
us.
These things are just feeding on wanting to spread, and even more so in the last two movies where they're like vomiting blood into other people's faces and so forth to try to
Mhm.
even spread the virus furthermore. But to me, it always felt like an anthology series, especially after the first, like now seeing the third one, that they don't really tie. But knowing, like hearing interviews from Danny Boyle, knowing what's going to happen, and because this new movie, 28 years later, basically starts a new trilogy. So these first three movies, if you look at them from afar, it feels like an anthology series. They're just tied in the same world, you know. But now knowing what they plan on doing in this new trilogy, the first two are basically filmed are done, right? They were filmed back to back, and the third one is all pending on how well these two do.
Yeah,
But
let's pause on that. With the future of the franchise is going. I want to sort of stay on the foundation a little bit. Um, to your point though, like one and two are completely separate films. I don't think Danny Boyle was really involved in 28 Weeks Later, other than maybe a producer role. But it was, completely different cast of characters, and a new director was brought in um, to give it that different point of view. I watched the trailer for 28 Weeks Later, and I realized either I don't remember anything about this film or I didn't watch this film when it came out. Um,
Jeremy Renner was in it. I forgot about that.
yeah, and I think he's
So
bad
many
in
actors
everything.
were in that.
Idris
Idris
Elba is
Elba.
in it.
Yep, a lot of
Yeah, a
people.
lot of a big cast, but so that story was a little bit different from it was basically a bigger story than 28 Days Later, where we kind of followed we followed this character. That one involves a family, a mother and a kid going through, you know, uh, what I think is like a society trying to rebuild itself. Is that what's going on in that film?
Yeah,
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 and
that's
that
how they introduced that movie, is the
and
rebuilding of London and the UK.
the real mystery to me is not so much like how the virus started, because I feel like I feel like again it was concise. They explained it pretty well. The real mystery is how is the rest of the world? Because right now we've just been focused on whatever Britain or what is it? Where London?
Mhm.
The
Where they
UK.
the UK basically. So they're centered there. And at the end of the second one, you kind of see like a hint that maybe they might be spreading out into Paris, right? But at the moment, everything's quarantined to UK. So how is the rest of the world reacting? We got to taste that in 28 days later, right? While he's laying there and the plane's flying by. And then at the very end, the plane comes by. So we know civilization's still around. The second one shows US forces coming in via NATO, and they're trying to help out the UK and keep the quarantine section like quarantined and taken care of. And the zombie, is whatever the outbreak is pretty much settled. But we don't really get a sense of the whole world dynamic. Like, what's going on? What do people think is going on here? Is it a big government secret? Do people know what's going on? Are there other small outbreaks happening all over the world? Like that's the bigger mystery.
Yeah, I think I'm less interested in what's going on outside of our character's purview. So I feel like I'm more interested in the main character's journey and following him through and exploring the world through him in the first film. Cillian Murphy, he gets out of the hospital. You kind of know what's going on as an audience member, but you're seeing him experience that world. So you have that sense of dread for him because he doesn't know the wave of terror that's coming, especially when he goes into the church and he's trying to talk to the priest before like hitting him with a grocery bag and fleeing. But 28 years later, the characters in the film know what's going on there, most of them, except the boy who we follow, right? We're kind of seeing the world through him for the first time as well. I like that perspective. That's kind of what I'm interested in, is how the characters are dealing with this. I feel like the bigger picture what's happening in the world. I feel at that point the film falls into the trap of becoming just very impersonal and more about a bigger war, and it's sort of, you lose that human connection when you scale things up that way, I think, in these types of movies. And that's why this series is so good, because it has like serious themes around them. I don't know
I
how
think
you
the second one was on the verge of losing that intimate connection. The second one,
Yeah.
like, it had it in the beginning, and then it kind of like blew it up a little bit, and then it lost that connection for a minute, and then it kind of like ended off on a weird note.
it's
The
tough to
second one
navigate
straight a little bit, yeah.
because you want to keep, getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but at some point I feel like you kind of lose the plot a little bit.
Best zombie book I ever read was World War Z. They had the Battle of Yonkers. That book was amazing. It was just a bunch of like stories about what was going on, right? It wasn't really following anybody. It was just a series of stories. And the movie was completely different than the books, but the book was so much better.
Yeah.
But that one had nice, like, little small, intimate stories, but it also weaved a bigger picture, which was cool.
Yeah. That was, I think you can see that book, that book would probably make a great television series, because it's all like a writer. It's a collection of moments throughout the zombie outbreak. I don't want to spend too much time on that, but I feel like maybe part one of this film would be one of those stories, kind of, or a collection of them, because in the book we do come back to reoccurring characters. But Danny Boyle, man, I felt like 28 years later, I was like, I don't know. I wanted it to succeed really bad. I didn't think it was going to be as good as ultimately it was. But how are you guys feeling about Danny Boyle?
The tomato meter is really high on both audience and critic for it. So
yeah, it is.
But it had divisive, like, some people did not like the ending of it, and we'll get into that later. But I heard it was good overall, but then the ending, people were like, it felt like a totally different movie. It threw people off. So that's the only thing I didn't like. What people were getting into that part of it.
Yeah, the ending is something else. But this guy's movies, Shallow Grave, Trainspotting, The Beach, 28 Days Later, Sunshine, Slumdog Millionaire, Steve Jobs, Trainspotting 2, Yesterday, which I like. A lot of people. It's like
bangers.
He has a great track record of stuff that I really like. And a lot of these I haven't even seen. He did 127 Hours with James Franco. I don't know if you guys remember that, about the hiker who gets like, he falls and gets stuck. He did a movie called Trance. Which one was Millions again?
I've been like, for many years, like, I've been following him for a while now. Just because all the movies you've named, I really like, love all of them. And I always try to like throw his name out there when people talk about like, oh, what director should I start following, or like what stuff should I? And it's like, this guy, everything he's done is literally really good. Like, I haven't seen anything that I didn't like from him. He did Trainspotting too. I don't remember if you mentioned that. He did The Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio, another good movie.
Yeah.
Just
even Trainspotting 2, you felt like, oh, is this like a return to that kind of filmmaking?
Yeah.
And it was like that hit. That was dope.
His what I like about him is his sequels are like sequels. They're not like watered down, trying to like market it more and get more dollars into it. Like, it doesn't lose the essence. They don't lose the essence, his sequels.
No, they don't. That's what I was worried about with T2. And that's what I was worried about again with this 28 years. But yeah, to your point, it doesn't lose the essence. It's totally original, despite the first one being so great. Like, I feel like both stand on their own. So I'm really glad that, the movie's performing well. I know it did not beat like the Dragon movie, How to Train Your Dragon, but it came in.
That's untouchable, right?
That's untouchable, right?
This one came in very organically, the way Danny Boyle was talking about it, because it came about because of COVID. And like everything before 28 days, 28 weeks, our generation definitely didn't have a sense of like a pandemic feel of like how topsy-turvy the world could turn on its head so quickly. And he said after
Well,
COVID, it became a very big realization that this is not only highly possible, but highly likely. And so it returned to form, and it created him, having this drive for this movie. And then the other like stories coming. He's not going to do the next one.
right. Yeah.
He's
He's
going to
not
be
going to
like
direct it.
executive producer, but yeah, like him. When I think of like UK directors, like that kind of style, it's him and Guy Ritchie. Like right off the bat, I love Guy Ritchie's style too, and I love Danny Boyle's stories. Like his stories, like The Beach was great. Like I know we all know Train Spotting and Slumdog Millionaire, but The Beach was an amazing story too, and so was A Life Less Ordinary. Like he has these movies, Sunshine. I think he did Sunshine too.
Yeah,
Yeah, he did.
that's a lesser known one that
That's
a
a
lot of
great
people haven't
sci-fi
seen,
movie.
but that movie is really well written. Really well.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he has like bangers left and right, man.
And just
Him
like
and
now that you mention it, just a quick trivia about the first movie, 28 Days Later. Him and Alex Garland felt like when they came up with that movie, they felt like the zombie genre of just like The Walking Dead, eating brains was outdated. They wanted to come up with something different. And at the time, it was like post 9/11, and they were like these weird bioterrorist like attacks happening, anthrax and stuff in London. And they felt like also mad cow disease was a thing over there, and they
Yeah.
felt like a viral, apocalyptic viral story was more realistic to tell. And you could just imagine that after 2020, if he had this in the back of his mind, that probably the pandemic probably set it off, and he said, "Yeah, I got to do it now."
Yeah, because he self-funded it. He self-funded this movie, I think, with Alex, because they wanted to get back
I mean,
into
it's
it.
been so long. You imagine how hard it would have been to like sell this to a studio or something.
Yeah, I think.
And we were left with that. Sorry to interrupt, but we were left with that cliffhanger at the end of 28 weeks later, with the shot of Paris and the Eiffel Tower. That one of the like best cliffhangers I've ever seen at the end of the movie. And you're like, yeah, the trilogy is going to be complete. Like right after this, they're probably going to follow up just like they did with the first one. It just never materialized,
Yeah, sometimes it takes time to cook. I mean, I also understand a lot of these guys, they don't want to stay on the same kind of projects because it takes so much time. It's like, do I really want to make a third movie and stay in this world for another 2.5 years of my life, or do I take this dope script that just came on my desk? So I appreciate them taking the time to do it, because now it feels fresh versus feeling old if it came out in 2012 or something.
Mhm.
So this movie has an interesting history too, because it's self-funded. So when the movie is self-funded, I feel like it's coming from a really good place because they have the creative control. I think Sony ultimately is funding the sequel, and then the third one, TBD. But with 28 Days Later being like blackout in terms of no distribution, no DVDs, no streaming, it kind of created like a legend, put this movie in like legendary status a little bit. And that was only like 6 months ago. We were talking about that movie not being available anywhere to watch. So then to get, I think Sony ultimately picked up distribution rights for that movie. And now releasing the project, it's pretty sick, and it's pretty good timing. I think, Paul, you mentioned that, this being organic, the success. I didn't see a ton of marketing for this movie. I see, you see posters and stuff at bus stops in New York City, but that's kind of it. I don't see a lot of ads or anything for this film. So I'm glad it's doing well. Do you guys want to, Paul, do you want to dive into it? Expectations?
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't want to ruin it for Pedro. Why don't you tell us what you think this story is going to be about? Like, what do you feel like watching the trailers?
Watching the trailers, honestly, my first impression, and when we did our summer movie preview, I was just like super hyped. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it's getting done. Like, but then as I watched it more and thought about it more, I'm seeing like this is more of a big budget. they've got like some sort of like post apocalyptic thing going on where people are like hunting, like, you know, they've reached that level of society. And I started getting like worried and disappointed at what I was seeing from the trailer, thinking like, they're going off script, and they're just, you know, trying to popularize this like to the point that all other like stories in this type of genre are like. So I actually lowered my expectations before going to the theaters to watch this. I'm like, I don't expect this to be good. But yeah, I'm glad I'm being proven wrong by everything I'm hearing from all the positive feedback people are giving for this.
If I had to compare it to the first or second one, 28 days or weeks, I would compare it more to 28 days. I feel like it's more in that vein of type of storytelling.
Really? So it's more indie than what's led on by the trailer.
Yeah, I think it's much more deeper. It's definitely like I love the story. It feels almost like two different movies at a point. It definitely feels the separation midway. It turns into a whole nother, basically kind of different story. But what a beautiful. I actually have it up there, like in my ranking in my mind. I'm coming fresh from seeing it, so of course there's going to be recency bias, but I have it right up there with 28 Days Later, if not slightly better, because I think this one was beautifully shot. Like, I don't care what
Yeah.
they talk about the whole iPhone thing and the way they did like bullet time and all this other stuff. The scenery, the you felt like you're in that world, man. You felt like you're walking through the hillside, you're looking at ruins. It was beautiful. It was really beautifully shot.
Nice.
Yeah, I think this is it's certainly on par with the first film. I think to your point about it, it's a big budget movie. I think movies just kind of cost that much now, but you can see where that money is kind of going when you watch the film. It's not incredible set pieces. It's not expensive action scenes. That's not really where the money went. I think it was because they didn't use a ton of CGI in this movie, and certain scenes you can see were probably extremely expensive to put together. But from this was shot on iPhone, so a lot of the shots when they're doing dialogue, there's like this shallow depth of field with both characters are in frame, but the one of them is out of focus. So the movie has this visual language where things always look off-putting or distorted, where it feels a little bit, the world itself is unsettling. Even the good guys are unsettling. Even their community is a little weird. And on the iPhone thing, you know, they have beautiful, beautiful landscape shots where you see the scale of not just the island where they are, but the mainland as well. You see like beautiful grasslands, sunsets, really, really all beautifully shot. They do these incredible action scenes where they're being chased by these zombies, whatever you want to call them. And I remember seeing on film Twitter with like a set photo where they had like a half semicircle, just all iPhones. So all recording at the same time, kind of like bullet time, but they use it separate. So when like a zombie gets hit with an arrow, like it cuts almost like photography, where it's like cut, and you see it from 3 different angles. It's so sick. Like, Paul, what did you think about that and the editing?
Yeah, it was cool. It was like a different way of like filming it. I mean, I don't know filming like you guys do, but like with the aspect of the, you know, the angles and the way it's focused in or not. But it was pretty cool. It was pretty
You
cool.
feel
like,
it. Like even if you don't know like the cinematic language, you feel something, right?
yeah,
When you're watching it, you know
you
you're
were
watching
saying like,
something different.
where did the money go? Like, you know, like again, like you said, I don't think there was CGI in there. I think everything was very practical, but the locations, like the filming locations, the
Gorgeous.
background scenery was just, I think maybe that's where the money went to, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
some of the actors or whatever, Ray Fiennes
Sure.
was in there. He was amazing. And our Aaron Taylor Johnson, I'm so glad he was in this because he's a great actor and he just came off of Craven. Like I remember that's the last thing I saw him in.
Tells
Craven
you
was
tells you
horrible.
how important a good script is.
Yeah, and a good story, and like, and he was a great actor. And again, we've talked about this theme a couple times in the last couple of pods. Child actors. This kid, man, Alfie Williams, the kid who played Spike,
Yeah, knocked it
blew
out.
blew me, like home run, man. This kid
Yeah,
blew it
he
out the
carried the
park.
film.
Yeah, he was. This is like a real coming of age story in more ways than one for this kid. And he does a wonderful job. Like this kid was the heart of the movie, man. He was so good.
Pedro, do you mind if we talk about the plot without revealing too much? Just a
No,
general.
go ahead, guys. And for
So
the listeners, that just mention a spoiler warning for the listeners if you have to.
I think you mentioned you were worried about this turning into like a big franchise that kind of just lost
Yeah.
all its identity.
Yes.
And so my expectation for this movie was dad and son going to the mainland into zombie territory to, I don't know, look for someone, find a special item, kind of crush, dominate. Maybe they're at a point of, they know the zombies so well that they kind of just dominate them and they're less of a threat. And actually the human counterparts are the bigger threat. That's not what this movie is at all. This movie is basically, to what Paul said, it's a coming of age story where this dad is like, there's this tradition of your first kill, and he's taking his 12-year-old son. He's kind of insisting on taking him because they say you're supposed to be like 15, but his son is only 12, and he's like, no, he's ready. We're gonna this, and he's like pumping his son up. So they go out to get the first kill. You know, a lot of cool stuff happens, like edge of your seat, and ultimately they come back, and I'm trying to be as careful as I can with this.
It's hard because you don't want to ruin the experience for you to go see it. You know what I mean? Like this is a good movie to like take in as you go. Like
Yeah, but it feels like multiple. It doesn't feel like multiple stories, but it feels like a true journey. When Ray Fiennes' character appears in the third act, and I guess he's been in the trailer or the posters. I didn't know he was in it. To be honest, when I saw him,
Oh yeah, he's been all over the media for this.
yeah, I kind of stopped following a lot of the media, and I didn't watch any of the new trailers. So I was delighted to see him on screen, and he kind of changes. His character is so different that he kind of changes the tone of the film a little bit, because he's more a little bit lighthearted and more comfortable in that world than our heroes are. But yeah, the kid is on a quest basically, to find medicine for his mother, or to find a cure for his mother. And that's basically the movie. It's told through the eyes of this kid, but usually that's a huge risk, but he carries it so well that you feel sorry for him, you're rooting for him, you feel in constant danger because they are in constant danger. And it's not like a million zombies coming at you. The world has changed so much that the zombies themselves have sort of, many of which have deteriorated over time and are just like husks.
and evolved into different versions, different forms.
Yeah, and slightly evolved over time. Really great. Dude, did you notice the pivoting a little bit here, but the soundtrack is like this Irish or Scottish rock band. It's so freaking good.
Yeah,
man.
that was mentioned in some promotions that Danny Boyle specifically just wanted to use the band Young Fathers.
That's the name.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first thing I said to I dragged my wife into this. She did not like this movie at all.
Damn,
But
really?
I was like, but did you like the music? That was freaking rocking. And she's like, yeah, the music is great. My wife is not into these kind of movies.
But
I'm
a very
glad I have her
heart.
company.
I'm surprised because it's a very heartfelt movie. Like
It's
there's
extremely
points-
gory though. This is
Yeah.
gorier than most movies even I watch.
Yeah, I can see that. But like it had a ton of heart. It had moments
Yeah.
that made me laugh out loud. It had
Yep.
moments where I was like about to cry, man. Like it was an emotional movie. It's a
Totally.
coming of age, and it's like it's also showing you like, yo, death comes in many different ways. and at some point we're all going to die, and just coming to that realization and having to grow up fast and deal with that. You know, I think
Yep.
part of that is why there was an accelerated timeline for him to get out there and go out and do his first kill. I like the town. I like the village. I love that feeling. I love the vehicle that they used with the high tide and stuff like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to
That
get
was
too much into
genius.
it, but
Well,
such
that's in the
great
trailer.
story beats. You know, like yeah, you see them running across the causeway. Just a lot of great story beats, a lot of heart. Um, I mean, again, I don't want to go into. I don't want to kill it for you because this is a movie like you don't want to be spoiled going into it. You kind of want to like just take it in. But to me, it had a lot of heart, man. It had a lot of good moments.
It
Like,
does.
you
Yeah,
know,
it's a family movie in some ways because it's about the relationship that this kid has with his dad, and maybe it's not what he thought it was, or his father is not who he thought it was, and then it's about the bond that he has with his mother and his sense of protection over her.
and as a parent, you feel that even more because look, when your kid's a little one, you're the hero in their eyes. You know, you can't do no wrong. You know basically everything that there is to know, and then as they get older, that kind of gets jaded a little bit. You're no longer the hero. You know, like you do have flaws. You don't know everything. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? And that comes out more and more as your child gets older. And so this is more of a coming of age in more than one way, you know, and him seeing his dad for that. And like him with his mom. The mom was a great actress in it too. She played a
yeah,
really, you know, good job.
yeah. The mom was great. I felt she was a little underdeveloped because the only time we really spend with her is halfway through the second act. Um, but that's a great actress to play that role.
She got meaty. She got a. I mean, the Alfie, the kid, Spike got the. You know, the he had time to chew, but she got a big chunk too. I might even say she had more time than Aaron Taylor Johnson had in the
I,
movie.
I just mean like we didn't understand as much about her character, her motivations. Who is she in this world? What's her role?
And then
What's
again,
her relationship dynamic, even to the village? Because she never leaves the room, and then suddenly she's out. That's all that I mean. That we don't get enough time to develop who she is.
I love how he always like Danny Boyle always leaves something to mystery, like, and it lets it unravel little by little. And like the thing with the mom was kind of like a little thing that unraveled as time went on, and you learn
Hmm.
more and more about it. You know, like, but I like the direction it's heading into. I'm a little worried, um, you know, that Danny Boyle's not going to be the director on the next one; that he's just going to be an executive producer. Um, but I like what I'm hearing about like what direction it's going to go in. There
And
was
we kind of at the ending is kind of really the beginning of part two. That's
it
why it
is
feels so weird.
it is and there's like um and there's more to that, like the way the second one's going to end and draw into number three. Like
Hmm.
there's been things that he's like teased in interviews. But I mean it has flaws. I feel like it has some flaws. There's some plot things that I didn't like. um I definitely didn't need that much dong in my life. You know what I mean? Like
There's
I
a
could
lot
have
of
go.
dick in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, and funny, it's all prosthetic though, because of child labor laws. They said it had to be all
Oh,
prosthetic.
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
because Alfie, the kid, is a young kid, so to protect kids from this, and that whole thing with the guy at the end, there's a whole story to that guy, like
Yeah.
UK lore. Like I have you know like there's actually a documentary about him on Netflix.
Oh, that okay. Yeah, yeah. Yes, I did hear about that. Yeah, the
So
Netflix that documentary came out about a year and a half ago or something. I remember.
yeah, and I was slightly confused about who that guy was at the end, but he was somebody in the beginning that came back full circle, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
If you
But
guys are if anyone is interested in getting a little more out of this franchise other than the films, there was a graphic novel released in 2007 called 28 Days Later: The Aftermath. It bridges the gap between the original film and its sequel, 28 Weeks Later. And it explores more interconnecting stories, and it delves a little deeper into the rage virus development.
Oh, snap! I did not know that.
Yeah, yeah, and it's awesome and it's great. And the franchises that I've like ventured off to and like read like the comic series of or like the graphic novels of that take place between movies are always really good. So I think this is going to be on my reading list now.
Yeah, that might be some good lore.
Mhm. Oh, I wanted to ask Paul, since you've seen a lot of movies, a lot of new releases, where do you rank this, or where do both of you guys rank this out of all the movies you've seen so far this year in theaters?
It's up there. This weekend I had an opportunity to go check out. I also checked out Mission Impossible. That was a good movie. I just felt like too long. But like I put this higher than that movie. Like I think I definitely put it as one of the top movies I've seen this year.
Cool.
Yeah,
Definitely
same.
heart. It depends like what kind of genre you're going for, but the heart, you get a lot out of this story. You get a lot. I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I'm trying to see all the movies that I've watched this year. This is probably one of the few movies that I've seen that are like this. It's a good blend of horror, action, but sort of grounded. I haven't really seen anything like that I see on my list. So yeah, it's one of my favorite movies. Absolutely, one of my favorite movies this
I
year.
would probably say definitely top 3 of the year, if not, pushing for that one spot. I'm looking forward to next week. This week F1 comes out, so we'll see how that does. That looks really good too.
That
And
looks
Megan
good.
too. Megan too it's stupid, but it looks fun, like mad fun. So a lot of good stuff coming out.
Pedro, are you gonna make your way to see this movie?
Yeah, it's definitely on my to watch list, and I'm on the same boat as Scott. I know you guys joked around with it a little last episode, but I haven't been to the movie theaters in quite some time either. I just haven't been pulled in by any releases in recent time, but I think this one is a good movie theater experience. So
I feel like, just a quick note on not going to the movies in a long time. I feel like COVID kind of put the pause on everybody and got everybody comfortable watching movies at home. But once you watch like 1 or 2 in theaters, you're like, this is what it's about.
yeah,
I got lucky. I got
there's also I just found out about this, but there's Fandango at Home. You guys heard about this?
no.
Fandango at Home is an app and a streaming service that lets you rent new release movies, even movies that are in theaters right now. Obviously, some that are like take a little longer to hit, but they've got like Mission Impossible on there to rent. They've got like
Yeah.
Ballerina. They've got like all the movies that are in theaters on there too. So.
This has probably been the year that I've gone to the movies the most, like in my life, because I got a gift of like an annual pass at one of the theaters. But this movie, yeah, so like on the late night I'll go and I'll see like a 10 o'clock movie, but that's to Bruno's point, like I could just wait it out and watch it at home when it comes on demand. But being in that theater, sitting in that seat, like munching on those snacks and seeing it on the big screen and in that environment. And like a lot of these movies too, like Minecraft or How to Train Your Dragon, and being in that crowd and having them experience the moment, like, and everyone laughing or everyone shouting out or whatever,
Yeah.
like it's an experience. This one I was lucky. I actually went to a different theater. It was like a more cozy, very modern, but very like small and cozy, intimate setting for this movie. And I enjoyed the theater, and it just heightened the experience of watching this movie. It was like it was really cool. But yeah, I'm like some days I'm like I'm shot and I'm like, oh man, do I want to drive like a half an hour? Do I want to get home mad late and go to work early tomorrow? But it's like doing that experience and checking it out at the theater it's pretty cool.
There's a scene in this film where they're being chased by a zombie, and it's shot beautifully. It's edited. Like everything is so tense. And seeing that in the theater and like me like clutching my wife's hand, like, are they gonna make it? Like you also don't get that sensation or that heightenedness at home, I feel like, because you can easily just sort of turn away and you're like, oh, I'm home. There's a photo of my dog, And in the theater, you're in that moment. So those levels of suspense and things, they just hit and land so much better when you're in a theater, and like people laughing, like you said, Paul, like
The theater, you just get immersed in the experience because you're surrounded by darkness. You have those loud speakers. You feel the vibration. You feel like you're in it. Like, yeah, this movie definitely had those moments where you're like, it's tense. You know, you're like, it's very tense.
Yeah. Even the moments of peace, you're like, this dude's about to get his head ripped off any second.
And I'm glad I didn't know any spoilers. So the whole time I was thinking something else was going to happen because I had heard like people say, "Oh, it feels like two different movies." And um, one I hated that I heard this. It was like somebody saying that they didn't get enough of Aaron Taylor Johnson in it, and I was like, they build him up like he was like. So I was constantly watching and anticipating stuff to happen, but it didn't happen. I was like always like something else happened. So I was always like pleasantly surprised with the story.
Yeah. Yeah, it was surprising. Again, the way they shot it, the way, like the visual language throughout the whole movie, the way you're looking at things, they have this trippy ass dream sequence that the kid has with his mom is like in water. There's another scene or a few scenes where they cut to like infrared footage of the zombies just feasting in like a horde. Like that stuff was crazy cool. And they have like the beginning, like 15 minutes, they play like old footage of England knights and soldiers marching against enemies and
Yeah.
shooting arrows. With like this, I got to look up what voiceover this is, but it's like some sort of lady like and making announcements. It's just so freaking cool, man. I love
It's a
everything about that.
poem, but she has the tone of like a number station, but it's a poem that
Yeah.
she's reading out. It's pretty cool.
And like that combined with with the old English army and the town and the imagery of the town, everything together is just like crazy, dude. So cool.
When I think about like UX before, like where do I put this up to other movies I've seen this year? I think about like rewatchability factor. Am I Final Reckoning? I'm not gonna watch that again. Most likely not gonna watch it again. Ballerina, I'm not gonna watch it again. Some movies throughout the year I have, like Companion I rewatched, or like Hard Eyes. This one is definitely gonna be a rewatch when it comes on video demand because it was just good. And you feel like everything happened like kind of fast, like when you're in that experience. So you kind of want to rewatch it again and like take it in better, you know. But this is definitely going to be a rewatch, and no doubt. And that's when you tell a good sign of like good movie that you're like, I can't wait until it comes out so I can check it out again.
Trying to see that dick again?
No, that's one of the plots. Like
that's how 28 Days Later opens up like that when this guy's in the hospital like completely naked.
But this was OD, man. Like that.
That's right. Yeah, it's like
I'm just saying it's a recurring thing throughout the series.
Like I get it. Like I've seen things tastefully done where it's like kind of like out of focus, so you don't like get it right up in your face. Like, but this was like OD, man. I didn't need this much. You know what I mean? Especially in the big screen. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, you see a lot of nudity, a lot of zombie nudity, but they keep it real. The violence is definitely realistic. Particularly that opening scene is, whew, that sets the tone for the whole movie. I won't say more than that. But yeah, we strongly recommend 28 Years Later. These are the kind of movies that when they come out, they make me feel good. That there's still stuff like this that I feel like I can say I've never seen that before, or like I've never seen these ideas put together this way. This is one of those movies. So
there's still hope.
There's still hope. Yeah. All right, we'll leave it there.
Do you want to get into a little spoiler talk after? I would definitely advise Pedro you mute real quick though.
I'll see you guys on the next pod. Thank you.
What did you think of, the first time we see her, she is basically like knocking over a bunch of stuff that's like on their bedside table. And she's obviously sick. And when she finds out that the boy is going into the mainland and not going to school, she goes into a rage. So I read that as she has some kind of variant of the rage virus.
I didn't. I felt like it was mental illness. I didn't think cancer right away. But like when she started having a lot of headaches and stuff, then I was like, oh, this is some kind of like brain cancer or like something's going on with her brain.
When she began like not hallucinating, but talking to her father.
Well,
not knowing where
and
she was.
when she started complaining, like when she was just raging, I thought it was like some mental illness that had come on, like onset later on in life. But when she kept complaining about the headaches and the light was bothering her and stuff like that, I was like, this is like a tumor or some kind of like brain cancer. Something's going on, like that's inflicting her. You know what I mean? I didn't think
Mhm.
rage at all. Like I after the very first, like where you hear her screaming upstairs and you don't know what the fuck's going on, I was like,
Yeah.
did this fucking guy keep his wife like chained up after she got the rage virus, hoping for a cure? But then the moment that washed away really quickly.
Yeah, yeah, and we've seen that before in a few movies. That never works out. They never get the cure.
No, no.
Um, um, what else was I going to touch on? I'm. What did you think of the pregnancy scene
My interpretation is that it was a woman that was already pregnant, and she
and
got
then turned?
infected after the fact. Yeah, I don't think it was like I don't think it was like the infected like going around banging each other naked, like and that's where the baby came from. I don't think that at all.
Okay, I thought it was implied that it was the Berserker's baby potentially.
No, no,
They
no. I
are
don't.
evolving. Yeah,
Because the baby came out uninfected, and like the way Ray Fiennes was describing it, that the placenta is like a mysterious thing. So she probably got infected after the fact, but because the placenta was separate essentially from the mother, besides feeding, the baby wasn't infected with the rage virus, and that's why the baby came out okay.
yeah, it was an interesting choice for them to make to even include that.
Yeah, because we've
I
seen
don't.
it before. I didn't like that. I didn't like that plot point. Like, I don't think that was necessary. It kind of just took away from it.
Yeah, and the mother also connects with the zombie at one point, and it's like, are they saying like that? You know, like the two moms, the zombie mom and Spike's mom, are kind of like holding hands through this process of delivering this baby, and then she turns sort of into a savage immediately after. But yeah, I wasn't really sure what they were trying to convey there. It didn't really bother me, that scene, because it was still awesome with the Swedish guy kind of like losing his mind and then the berserker showing up shortly after. Um,
But again, the like that was a plot point that I hated too. Is like the alpha. They friggin' nullified him twice. Why
mhm.
didn't they kill him? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why
Oh,
let this guy still run around? Like, he almost killed you a bunch of times already. Ray
well,
Fiennes
there's
knows
two
this.
alphas. There's two.
No, there
There-
was the main alpha, the kid, the guy that kept coming back. He had a name for him. I forgot what his name was.
No, there's two alphas. They kill one in the beginning, and then there's
Oh,
Samson.
yes, I'm sorry, the one that got spiked when they were running across the causeway. Yes, that alpha got taken care of. But the other one, Samson, because Ray Fiennes knew about him, right? And he
Yeah,
kept saying, "Oh yeah, I know. I call him this one Samson." Well, you morphing him out of his friggin' mind. Like, why don't you just kill him?
I
Like, why
think
do you
he
let him keep running?
because I think he respects that and he coexists with them. I think he's at that point. He just coexists with these creatures. I don't think he's out hunting them or killing them.
Well, after that near-death experience where he almost got choked out in the Heidi, like I would
Yeah,
reconsider that. You know what I mean? Like,
but I think that's a choice. I don't think he's being naive or anything. I think that's just his character. Like he has an iodine all over himself because it
I
keeps him away.
I
Like
love that.
he's a
I
little
love that
nuts.
because it gives such a visual, like a great visual on it, but it has such a practical use that
Right.
the iodine makes sense that it's just an added barrier for the infection. Like that's so cool. Like that's well written. That's
Yeah, yeah,
really like well done. I love the little parts that Alf again, Spike, his beautiful moment, his beautiful goodbye to his mom, putting the skull on top, facing the sunrise. Like, damn man, like poetic. Like that was
yeah,
beautifully done.
yeah.
Um,
It was beautiful, and
seeing his dad like losing that innocence with his dad, embellishing the story, calling him the giant killer and all this other stuff.
yeah,
And like, he's like, I didn't do this. Like, my dad's lying. And then to come again and full circle on that. And then the dad's out messing around with another woman while the mom's homesick, like,
yeah,
so that heroism kind of gets killed. So this kid's growing up left and right. Like he's going out, he's killing zombies, finding out his dad ain't the hero he thought it was, dealing with his mom, like there is no cure for his mom, and having to let her say goodbye and like let her die. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, really good beats with this.
Yeah, really great stuff with the kid. Um, a lot of weird. I noticed one thing. There's a lot of strange imagery with this with the village and the folks. There's like that one photo of Queen Elizabeth. You know, I just felt like, you know, we get the information in the beginning of the movie that the rest of Europe has kind of dealt with this, and it's quarantined in the UK. Like that's only where this is happening. The rest of the world's kind of fine. And they meet that Swedish guy because their patrol boat, crashes. But I feel like the village is like the last, you know, part of England that still exists. They have the queen, the photo of the queen, but then when Alfie leaves, he sets this little barn on fire, and you see like this white shot, and the England flag is burning, as if like it's the end. Like England is over now. Like it's the end of these people. Obviously, they don't all get killed, but I thought that was pretty symbolic and pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that was just a deterrent, to, like a distraction, so he'd get out, and no one got hurt.
No,
Like,
no,
but
but
yeah,
I'm talking
visually,
about what England is. It's like it's holding on to almost nothing, and the image of the flag burning at that point while the rest of Europe is chilling and like talking about I should have been an Uber driver.
yeah, yeah.
It's I thought that was an interesting sort of I don't know. I don't know. I feel like there's something there. I don't know what it says. Maybe it's like, the England as we know it is over and the rest is just ashes and, these few survivors.
There's
I thought it was
definitely
pretty
pocket
interesting.
groups out there. I think that's what they're leading
Yeah.
towards with the end. But yeah, I guess, yeah, I guess see what you're saying with like a juxtaposition against like him talking about cell phones and Wi-Fi and why did I even join this? I should have just stayed an Uber driver. I could have been
Yeah.
stuck in traffic right now instead of dealing with this. Like that realization that the real world's going on right now, and this kid doesn't even know what the heck he's talking about. He's like, a phone?
Right.
What's a
He
phone?
doesn't even know what a Frisbee is.
Yeah, and like, yeah. So it's wow, yeah, that's a good point too. Yeah, even that guy, like the inclusion of that guy, the Swedish soldier, like because it felt like at one point it felt like there's a lot going on right now. Like the
Yeah.
beginning had that opening scene, then it really had nothing to do with the main story. Then you're
Well, but we
thrown into
didn't
like
know
these
that.
soldiers. Yeah, we
My
didn't know
my
that.
assumption was like, okay, maybe the kid Jimmy is now the dad, for example.
That's what I thought at first, like
Like
watching it.
naturally, I think you go to that conclusion. That didn't turn out to be the case. But yeah, but it feels like it, it
Because
feels
you're finding out about the soldier, you're finding out about the doctor, you're finding out about all these different things, like kind of like all at once in like that beat. The mom is now, he's like taking the mom out. So like all this is happening at once, and that felt like a little overwhelming at a point. And then it kind of like settled down and everything fell into place. And then you felt like,
Mhm.
I felt anyway, comfortable with the story, like where it was going.
Yeah, I
Um,
think you needed that the kid going out, and when he comes back, you're like, okay, where's this going now? And then that's when the second story sort of begins, when he's like, okay, there's a cure for my mom. I'm gonna go get this cure, or there's no guaranteed cure, but he goes out to look for a doctor. Um, and it's cool because we get to see the world for the first time through the kid's eyes, and then we get to see the world for the first time through the mom's eyes again.
yeah.
And the kid is a little bit more, used to. He can sort of he has more confidence and he can handle himself because now he's the protector, and he's no longer
Well,
the
well,
passenger.
she was the protector at one point, and not even knowing what she did when she took out that like that bottom dweller, that worm eater
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
middle of the night. She had some great beats too, man. When she was having like these mental breaks, and she was traveling through time, like in her mind, and she saw that Iron Angel,
yep,
and talking about the story about her dad telling her about time travel, like we're kind of traveling. Like though I'm not doing it justice, but the way she explained it was beautiful. Like that was a great beat,
yeah,
like um but anyway, what I really wanted to get into real quick is Sir Jimmy Crystal, right?
sure,
So the Jimmy in the beginning of the story, that little boy who gets his innocence ripped from him watching Teletubbies, then comes back at the end as a full-grown man now, um, with the same cross that his dad gave him in the church, because his dad was the priest that gave him the cross, and now
Yeah.
he's wearing it upside down, right? Um, that guy's played by oh damn,
But hold
Jack.
on, hold on. Without all the internet research, right? Just stay within the realm of the movie. So to your point, the movie opens with these kids watching Teletubbies. There's something horrific going on. All the kids get murdered. This kid happens to survive. Cut to present day, we see Spike's character. He stumbles upon this guy now, Jimmy, and like the Jimmy gang. The funny thing is, like, I only realized this hours later. They're all wearing the same color, Teletubby colors, the jumpsuits. But when that happened, yes, it felt like a different movie for me. And tonally, it was very different. It was more like Guy Ritchie was like directed the last 5 minutes of that movie,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
like, I thought it was a little weird, and I was like more worried how other people might take that. But I was like, dude, that was nuts, and that was before I even know there was a sequel coming. I don't know how I missed that there was a sequel coming in like 7 months, but yeah, I thought it was cool, and maybe like it took me a little bit to see how it kind of works with the film.
Yeah,
How
knowing
how
now
did you
this
like it, like in the moment?
in the moment, I was like, wow, what a tone shift, man. Like, what's going on? I thought it was like pretty funny, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, so now he's going to be running with these guys. And like, after all that heaviness, like him losing his mom and all that, this was kind of like a levity. Like it ends with his dad running down the causeway and screaming, and he can't go chase him because the water's high tide,
Yeah.
and like, damn, I got to get my son. And them sitting at the table and him sitting with the father, not knowing his wife, the father's daughter's dead. You know what I mean? Seeing that letter with the baby. Um, and then the dad running. And then what a position, like the kid's on the road cooking fish. He's getting chased, and you're like, man, this kid's never going to have a fucking break. And then all of a sudden comes in the levity and it kind of breaks it. I liked it. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, that's funny. And I didn't notice this, but that's the Teletubbies theme music in a rock version.
Oh, is that what that was? I don't
Yeah,
even know the theme music.
yeah, yeah. So it was like, it started with Teletubby music and it ended with Teletubby music, which was kind of funny.
They did hint at Jimmy, and I don't remember if they said that his name early in the movie when he was a kid. If his mom ever said, Jimmy, stay here. Maybe she did, but I didn't
Yeah.
recall. But you see, there is a wide shot, and you see his name graffitied on the wall, and then there's another scene where they see a zombie hanging upside down. I didn't know what it said. I remember seeing MY, and I was like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. But after the movie, I realized, okay, they strung up this guy
Yeah.
and left him there.
Because they,
Uh,
they 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 did that again where they hung up the guy upside down and it kind of
yeah,
tied back to it. I saw IMMY. I didn't see the J, so it didn't hit until like after. And then when I was like, who's this guy based off of? Because he's so visually like out of character compared to everybody else, especially coming from that little island community where everyone's like,
yeah,
take what you need, only use water when you have to. We're a big community here. And then this freaking guy's running around with like gold chains and like a jumpsuit.
clean though. They look clean, and
Well, yeah,
it's the
clean and
only
doing
time you see
flips.
the color yellow or red in the movie because everything is so gray and sort of has this tone of it too. So when they pop up, they're so bright.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there was tones of red in the movie when they were doing like that infrared with the
Yeah,
infection.
yeah, and all the blood and stuff.
But yeah, yeah. I mean, like it was definitely a pop of color, so you knew this was a different tone. So now understanding it, we know this is kind of like a prelude going into the second movie that's already been filmed, right?
Yeah,
And he's going to be a big guy in the movie. Spike's going to be a big guy.
Spike
Aaron,
is still the main character in the
yeah,
second film, from what I
and
understand.
and his dad's going to be a big one. And
Right.
the one thing that really disappointed me was that Cillian Murphy wasn't in this one, right? Because everything I heard, he was coming back. I didn't know he was just going to be like an executive producer on it or whatever. I thought he was actually going to come back. So they're saying the same way this one ended with Sir Jimmy, kind of the second one's going to end with Cillian Murphy popping up and tying back into it. And then the third one is going to be really heavy on Cillian Murphy.
Hold on. So this is wait. So the first one, yes, Cillian Murphy's not in this movie. He's going to be in the second one. I saw him on the cast list. But you're saying there's two more after the next one, you're saying? Or there's
No,
one
no,
more
this
after
is
the
the
next
first of the trilogy, and then so
Right.
the next one that they already filmed, the Bone Temple. I think I heard it's coming out in January.
It is. Oh, suppose that's the date right now. Yeah.
But so Cillian Murphy kind of shows up at the end, kind of like Sir Jimmy Crystal did in this one, and then that's kind of serves as a prelude for the final of the trilogy, where it's going to be heavily focused on Cillian Murphy and kind of tying it all back in. That's what I heard
Gotcha.
anyway, like
Okay.
from interviews or
Yeah.
whatever.
We're a long ways from there. But yeah, I did hear that he was coming back. And I also thought for some reason he was in this. But he was not. Which is,
Everyone thought he was that zombie. Like I
right?
remember when the trailer first, everyone was like, "Yo, that's Cillian Murphy," blah blah blah. And it's funny because Danny Boyle, he was in. I watched like an interview. I was like them talking to him about it, and he was like, "Yo, one of my cast, one of my crew, whatever, was like, yo, people are gonna think that's Cillian Murphy." And he's like, people would be idiotic to think, no way, that's so stupid. They're not gonna think that. And then when the trailer came out, everyone was like, "Yo, that's Cillian Murphy." He was like, "Damn, he was right." Like that wasn't my intent at all. Um,
It does
uh,
look like him. He is in the movie, and in the movie, it's clear that it's not him. But I remember seeing that image just even before the trailer. That image came out, and it was like first images of Cillian Murphy in this movie, and I was like, "Damn!" So he like died, but
yeah.
he kind of survived as a zombie. I was like, "All right,
And it's funny
interesting choice."
because he wanted to be in the movie badly. He was even willing to push Oppenheimer because I think the filming was conflicting, and they were like, "No, we have a really good story. This is how we'll do it. But I want you to be part of it." Because he kind of almost like, from what I heard, was convinced Danny Boyle to come back and really hit this one hard. Like he wanted to come out. So I think it had some confliction with Oppenheimer or whatever. But at least he'll be in the second one and heavily in the third one.
Yeah, it'll be good to have him back. I'm sure that this guy he's probably busy. He has like so much work going on right now too. But it'll be dope to see his character return. Surprised that he survived this long, but curious to see like how they'll explore his story, because you can do a lot of stuff with that character because it's been so long.
Yeah.
But okay.
And now the elephant in the room, this guy, right? The Sir Jimmy Crystal, the one he's modeled after, like a guy that's big in UK or was big before he died. Jimmy Salville or whatever it was. And he was like a big guy who did like a lot of shows. He did a lot of charity. He helped a lot of people. But to come out to find out after he died that he was this like prolific sexual abuser, and he would take advantage of like the opportunities he was given to have like access to these hospitals and these women shelters and all these other things. And it's just a weird thing for them to kind of like use him as an influence for Sir Jimmy Crystal at the end. Just weird. Like I think he said because it's iconic, and at that time, whatever time this was taking place, when the outbreak happened, this stuff about Jimmy Salville hadn't
It
come out
wasn't
yet.
out. Yeah.
So they're kind of modeling it after like he was such a pop icon at that time, or like he was just big in the culture in UK. And so between Teletubbies and this guy, Sir Jimmy was kind of modeling himself after that, like what he had seen on as because it basically Arrested Development. You know what I mean? This kid lost his innocence
Yeah,
at the
exactly.
age 7. And so he's like just building off of what he saw, what he knew. He didn't have a father to grow up with when the priest died.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's just that was very weird. Like when I came back and I was like hearing more and more about this guy and digging into it, and I was like, wow, but that guy is Jack O'Connell. He was in Sinners. He was the villain in Sinners. He was Remick. This guy is good, man.
Oh, okay. He is in that. All right, cool.
Yeah. And I liked him in Sinners. He was really like charismatic, convincing. He was good in it.
Yeah, that character is described as a cult leader. So certainly positioning himself as the villain for the next film. Ray Fiennes also coming back. So yeah, that's coming in soon. That's coming in just a few months, which I think will probably help the movie because it'll still be kind of somewhat fresh in people's minds. At that point, it's going to be on like Max or Netflix already, so more people will have seen it. But we'll leave it there. We'll see you guys next week. Like and subscribe to the podcast. That helps us go a long way, grow the audience, and we'll get more content out to you. All right. Peace.
Peace.